What do you think would happen if they opened a Shein store in Australia?
There would definitely be protests, in my opinion.
This week in e-commerce, episode 113. I am Mal Chia, back with you for another week with Alex Ross. Alex, Black Friday is here. Well, Black Friday month, Cyber month.
I even saw someone, there's a website calling it, what's it called? Black Frenzy. So we've just got an amalgamation of Click Frenzy and Black Friday.
No, I've got a couple of clients doing that. They've got a something frenzy and then they're doing like a black something afterwards. So it's like, yep, okay. We've just given up. We've just given up. It's just going to be everything on sale all month. And how are you finding the sales so far? Have you been tempted by anything?
I haven't yet, because I'm probably one of those shoppers that's going to hold out. I like to compare, which is difficult when brands going on sale at different times, right? So I'll probably be one of those holding out and keeping to the traditional Black Friday dates.
Do you know what? I'm going to do the same, actually. And roughly for that reason, just like I know everyone's going to be back on sale at that time. Right now, some people are on sale, some people aren't on sale. They started with this and they've reduced it, and now they're off sale. So I'm in no rush. There's going to be plenty to go around at the end of the month.
Exactly. And the benefit, I suppose, of waiting is just seeing the quality of the discounting as well. Like, we're getting so many in our inbox. So by the time that we get to that true Black Friday day, knowing whether that's a good deal or not.
No, I've completely lost track. Every time I open my inbox, I'm just bombarded. I've just given up. And even text messages, they've been flooding my inbox as well.
I haven't had as many texts as I expected, but I think that just goes to the nature of Australian text doesn't perform as well as, international rather.
Well, I think in true fashion, marketers have managed to kill a perfectly viable channel and made it completely unreadable.
For sure.
All right, well, we've got a huge episode, a lot of great topics to cover off, including a few which I didn't even realize, which happened quite a while ago. And we're going to start off with one of those, which is that Jess Hatzis, founder of Frank Body and branding agency Willow & Blake, has been recently appointed as the Betts CMO and a shareholder. This one caught me by surprise. I didn't expect that she'd be going back into an in-house role after starting Willow & Blake, which seemed to be going really well.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for someone who's so great at branding and to give that legacy brand a fresh face, really. It would be exciting for her just to come in and see all that low-hanging fruit, I think.
Yeah, well, I think it's something where she said in the interview that she'd been working on this for about 9 months or so. And when she said the reason why she joined and they asked her about Betts, what she thought about it, her first impression and what she remembered about Betts is the exact same which I had, which is school shoes. I just remember going into Betts and Betts, or Betts now, and buying school shoes when I was a young lad 30 odd years ago. So she's now looking to reposition the brand to make it much more contemporary with in terms of their range, but then also with their branding as well. And the first campaign and the first collection under her seems pretty cool. At least it looks very different to just school shoes, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's more relevant. I think it's great from Betts being that family-owned business as well to kind of acknowledge where they're at in the market and needing that kind of shake-up. We've seen a lot of footwear brands struggle the last 12, 18 months, right? It is a category that really struggles for that differentiation piece. So yeah, cool things from Jess to come.
Yeah, especially since they're actually making it a full refresh, not just putting lipstick on a pig and just changing the branding. It's actually changing everything about it.
Yes, and I don't know if I misread this, but I saw there's going to be more focus in the line as well. So kind of getting rid of products that don't make sense for them and really staying focused on that true offering for Betts.
Yep, absolutely. And like we've always said, that is a great move.
100%.
All right, another one which keeps coming back every couple of months is that the ACCC are going to be eyeing misleading Black Friday discounts. Now, no doubt everyone who listens to this has heard us talk about this before, but it seems that this year they are going to be paying even closer attention to what's going on. And a lot of people think they can get away with it, but I get the feeling they're really going to be cracking down, in particular around the fines, which in the last 12 months, there's been brands like Michael Hill, Warehouse, who've been fined about $20,000 or so. They're now saying that the fine is going to be about 3 times what the benefit to you was. So if you discount something artificially and you made $100,000 off it, they will now fine you $300,000.
Now, I don't mind the scaled approach rather than having a flat fee. The Scandinavians do that with parking tickets. So if you're, so a parking ticket to a millionaire hurts more or hurts proportionally as anyone else. I think with the ACCC, we know, like you said, they're watching, they're looking, and they they pride themselves on that at this point too. They've got a standard to uphold. We'll have to see what stories come out. Let's, 2-3 months later off the back of this period.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think one of the main ones that going to be looking at is site-wide discounts, where you're saying site-wide, but it's not really site-wide. That's going to be one which they've said which they're going to be looking at. But then also was now pricing as well. That if you are going to say something was a certain price, you actually need to have historical data to show it was that price before you mark it down. You can't just artificially inflate your price before your sale and then mark it down 30% to what it was before, which is, the old Coles and Woolies gimmick.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one because I imagine that happens all the time, even just aside from Black Friday, or at least I'm skeptical in that way where, you've never seen a price actually being that before discounting.
Yeah, I had I was in sorry, I was in a WhatsApp group chat where this came up, and I was like a flat, absolutely not. And there were other people advocating for it. It's like, no, this is just unethical. Like, what part do you think this is okay?
Exactly. And the competitive landscape today, if anyone got wind of that, from a brand perspective, that will absolutely tarnish the business.
100%. And speaking of Black Friday and the sales, an ARA and a Roy Morgan study found that Australians were going to be spending more this year, $6.8 billion over the Black Friday weekend alone. So just that 4-day period.
It's a massive number, right? I mean, it sounds like a massive number to me, just over that 4-day period. Imagine what it is over the whole Black Month period, which we were just talking about. They're saying it's going to be up 4% year on year. I suppose that's promising in some regard.
Yeah, I think it generally is. Like, people have been waiting for this period to buy, and I think we've had a whole year of fairly flat, if not down, growth on previous years as well. So it's going to be good to see that growth hopefully come back in. A lot of retailers be able to clear out some aged inventory. But also, what I particularly liked about this from an online retailing point of view is that online retail was going to be 25% of that total spend.
100%. Yeah. And I think from what we've seen, well, the stats that I've seen with businesses that have that omni-channel or unified commerce, if you want to go there, that's not proportionate. Normally, e-com makes up less. So to see that really take the stand, 25% of total spend, yeah, it's awesome to see in our space, isn't it?
Yeah, so get ready. Make sure that your customers know about what you have on offer through this period, and also make sure you're leading some good deals as well. And I think that's going to be really important to make sure that you capture attention through this period. Now, the whole profitability versus margins kind of depends where you are. I don't expect to see many great stories from people being super profitable through Black Friday. I think a lot of brands are just going to look for this to be an opportunity to get cash back into their coffers.
Yeah. And as long as that's on those products that have been sitting there for a long time, need to clear them, but we don't want to be seeing that on new arrivals and their strong core sellers.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, and our last quickie for the week is City Chic are back in growth mode in ANZ. Now, City Chic, I've talked about them before and wasn't overly bullish about their prospects, but they have gone through some serious cost cutting and restructuring over the last 12 months. And from the looks of things, have really come out the other side. ANZ, their revenue is up 10%. US, though, they are down 21%, which is actually above what they had originally forecasted. So they're showing that their revenue has actually increased through this period, the net revenue. So that's a positive sign for this brand.
100%. I was really happy to see this. There's, like you said, they've had some challenges. I like that they're acknowledging how tough it is, that they had that really over forecasted decrease, and now to call that a good news story, they're prepared for it. So yeah, that's awesome to see.
Yeah, and focusing on Australia as well versus just pushing into the US, really making sure that they've got a really solid foundation here at home, I think is a really great move.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now our first deep dive is we're going to pick up on that one about online retail growing, because Coles have shown massive growth. So they are up 27.9% this year in e-commerce revenue, which is just a shockingly insane amount. And that now makes up 13.3% of their of their total sales. So they're still, from a total sales percentage, still around kind of where we expect most e-commerce to be. But to see growth up that much is ridiculous.
I've got a question for you before we get into it. Are you a Coles shopper or are you a Woolworths shopper now?
Neither.
Neither. What,
I
you're a local produce support SA shopper.
I'm a local produce. I will support independents versus supporting Woolworths and Coles. I just know the practices which they have, particularly screwing down their suppliers. Sorry to anyone who's affiliated with those two brands here, but I believe in fairer competition across the entire grocery sector. What
Okay.
about you?
I'm a shopper that's motivated by convenience. So I happen to be closer to a Woolworths where I'm currently living. So guess I'm a Woolworths shopper now.
That's how most consumers shop.
Yeah.
You may know there's a great video I saw last night from Lena Khan, who used to be the head of the FTC, the Fair Trade Commission in America. And she showed a video just about looking at the illusion of choice, which a lot of people have when they go down the grocery aisle. If you look at the cereal lane, you think, wow, there's like 40 different brands of cereal I could buy. But really, they're all owned by 3 different companies. And that's the same with a lot of other brands as well. Own 95% of the soft drink market is owned by 2 companies, Pepsi and Coca-Cola. So there's not really that much choice in the market. And when you own that amount of the market, you're actually a monopoly and you can dictate the terms to your suppliers. And that's not a good situation for consumers because that's where you see your price go up. That's where you see consumers paying more for less. And that's not good at the end of the day for cost of living.
There was a big highlight on that last 6 months off the back of COVID, where we're really understanding how much money Coles and Woolworths made during a time where we all struggled, right? So to come back to the story, like off the back of that, and like you said, people being focused on independent, where is this growth coming from?
Well, I think a lot of it has been driven by their CFC, their customer fulfillment center, which I think they've expanded that. So the reach of that has increased about 85% in the last 12 months. So more people being able to get more choice faster has
Mhm.
been a huge driver for that. Because going back to it, it's about convenience. For the majority of shoppers out there, they're not thinking about that extra factor because they just think about what can I get really quickly. They're shopping for convenience. And that's what these guys can provide because they have the scale to be able to do that as well.
Yeah. And like their own trucks, all of that kind of fulfillment piece is owned by them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also the range as well, where now that they're not just in in their supermarkets and they can fulfill from their centralized centers, they can offer more products as well. So they've actually seen quite large growth in terms of their non-grocery products as well as grocery products, but also specialty groceries as well. So like international brands, which they don't stock in a store because demand is low, but they can stock it out of their CFC.
Right, that's so interesting. I didn't even realize that. I'm not organized to buy the groceries online. I'm going straight to the shops right now. It makes me think of a little bit of Woolworths and their marketplace strategy, where obviously they're also focused on those products that aren't in store. But it sounds like in this case with Coles, they're still focused on that being food and perishables rather than air fryers and products that aren't synonymous with the brand.
Yeah, I think with marketplaces anyway, for a brand like Coles, it just helps them extend onto what they've already got because they can leverage their customers who are part of their Coles rewards or Woolworth rewards or whatever the program is and convert them into marketplace buyers as well. Yeah, and that's what a lot of those brands do. Whereas smaller brands can't really tack on a marketplace because they don't have the customer scale to be able to do that. But big brands like Coles, Woolies, Kogan, they can do that.
Yeah, and they've got loyalty rewards subscription points to kind of help bring those shoppers back in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So with 27.9% growth in e-commerce, what did you think of their story and deploying ChatGPT across the business?
Look, no surprises. I think the last couple of weeks have been very interesting in the number of companies who have been making layoffs as a result of that. They've been implementing more AI, including Amazon and a few others who have implemented more AI and as a result use that as an excuse to lay off staff. I think this is going to happen because ultimately they are publicly traded companies. They are aiming to maximize their profit, increase shareholder value to increase their share price. And that's going to happen by cutting more staff. So, look, it's great they're going to be doing it in the sense that they're finding those efficiencies within the business, but not so great in that I have no doubt that this is going to lead to more layoffs down the track, which is going to make life even tougher for people who are doing it tough already.
Yeah, absolutely. Those corporate roles, yeah, it's a sad reality.
It is something we need to fight against.
Well, I think when we were first talking about AI, everyone was thinking about, photo shoots and images and all the creative stuff. And now I think in the last couple of weeks, we've really seen that business come to the forefront, talking about how AI can help with resourcing corporate team workloads. Yeah, it's something that we should definitely try and fight back on.
Well, I think something about AI as well, particularly from that creative sense, is that what we've seen the creative output from AI is that it's okay. And that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's just okay. I've seen some videos of people saying this is the future of advertising. And I look at it going, this is the most boring ad I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's a man walking down the street, like a bird comes in and all this stuff. I don't even know what it's about. That is really boring. There's nothing creative, nothing about this is going to stick in my mind besides the fact that I do a weekly podcast where I talk about this.
Yeah.
But there's no other reason for me to remember this. Where AI is coming in is that it's going to be taking a lot of those manual jobs out there, but then also runs the risk of the fact that now there are no more entry-level positions. In the US, graduate unemployment for new graduates is the highest it has ever been because people coming out of uni now don't have jobs to go to because those jobs just don't exist. Instead, you have these jobs asking for you must have 5 years experience in this, and this, and we're going to pay you a graduate salary. It's like, how am I going to get that experience if I don't, if there's no job for me to do?
And probably 5 years experience using ChatGPT. And you're like, all right, well, how do we even start there?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we need to find those opportunities. Otherwise, we could be the last generation of people who actually had to think for themselves. And are given the ability to think for ourselves because it's all going to be taken over by AI if we don't watch out.
Mm-hmm. That's a scary thought.
This podcast has now taken a very negative turn. We've gone to a very, very dark place. But not so much in a dark place is our next topic, which is women's workwear, which is a category which is absolutely booming at the moment. So 2 brands, Green Hip and Shewear, are completely redesigning women's workwear, with Shewear actually winning the Australian Good Design Awards not too long ago.
Yeah, this is another one that I was really excited to talk about. I think I've said it a couple of times now, women are not small men. So great to see, I think, businesses doing really well in this category and those that hard work coming to fruition, really, the recognition that there is a space for women-based workwear.
Yeah, look, I think it's very similar to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago with men's skincare, about how that was a booming category because it's an ignored category. Everyone is so focused on the big shiny object, which is women's beauty, that they forget about the men. In the same way where I think with a lot of the workwear brands, which I've worked with before, they are very focused on men. Men are in all their advertising. Men are in literally everything which they do. When you think tradie, you think a man. But you still now have this really ignored segment. And I got to say, any building site I go past now, there's at least 2 or 3 women there, minimum.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have a look, most of them that I look are wearing shewear shoes. They're very popular. They're great.
There you go.
Yeah, there's definitely more opportunity in these types of spaces where, specifically those that are really heavy on that kind of gender roles, and being able to flip the script there.
Yeah, and it's like the blue ocean strategy. Are you familiar with blue ocean strategy?
Tell me.
Okay, so blue ocean strategy is, in a nutshell, I'm going to oversimplify this, is that instead of fishing in the red ocean, don't go swimming in the red ocean where all the sharks are. That's where everyone's already circling and it's a complete bloodbath. You got to find the blue ocean. So where's the blue ocean, which is totally clear and there's no one in it yet, and you swim in that space. So if you're there, you've got that whole market to yourself. It's less competitive. You're less reliant on advertising to have to get your word out there because there's no competitors, or at least there's fewer competitors. So I think it's a really great idea to figure out for your brand, where's the blue ocean for you? And it doesn't necessarily need to be a whole new category like women's workwear, but it even could be in terms of how you position your brand in a certain market. All the great streetwear brands are able to position themselves to appeal to a specific segment of the market, which is underserved. If you look at brands like, let's say, Born and Raised in the US, they appeal very much to that Los Angeles, Angelino, young male market. That's their market through and through. And they dominate. They absolutely dominate that market because no one else is serving that market.
Yeah, I think it comes down to knowing your shopper, knowing your consumer.
Yeah, and making sure you tailor it for that. So do you expect to see more brands start to do things like this to really start focusing on the women's tradie market?
Well, It's the blue ocean, red ocean. How big can the ocean get when, so it's going to get saturated. I like seeing these brands like Green Hip and Shewear that were leaders in the space. They took the risk when no one else was doing it. I think we'll definitely see people jumping on, or even those industries that have been focused on, let's say, men, now at least starting to dabble more into that women's range and putting a focus on that. So maybe instead of having all these black masculine websites, we're going to something that's a little bit more neutral, or the personalization where we could have different experiences for different shoppers.
Yeah. Look, and if you remember a few years ago, Fig, do you remember the company Figs? So Figs, they made scrubs. So scrubs.
Yes.
Yep. So in the US, scrubs, but like not boring scrubs. They made like really cool scrubs, different patterns. They actually did a lot of licensing as well. They grew to be a $1.24 billion brand just on scrubs.
Now, so it's interesting you say that off the back of your question before, because I haven't heard of Figs, but I know of a lot of other custom fun scrub businesses who, if Figs are the first, then there are all these other incumbents coming through later that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, but Figs is always going to be the biggest, at least like Lulu was. Like Lulu were the first in there with high quality, stretchy black pants, and then the biggest, currently the biggest anyway. So it's good if you can get into that, if you can identify that market and attack it hard.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and our final story we're going to dive into is this one brought lots of joy to my heart. Shein opening their store in Paris, inside BHV Paris, which from what I understand is one of the premium shopping malls in Paris. And they had a lot of protests, like loads of protests. You can see the videos of people lining up outside the store, yelling abuse at the Shein store. And French regulators have about to suspend their online operations as well in Paris.
I think from watching all the content and the videos on this, I could even start to understand some of the French on the signs, just the way that it was very like, no, Shein, like, there's a lot to unpack here. I think the first thing I thought of was, why on earth did BHV let Shein in?
Well, I would probably say it's money.
How much money? Like, that seems, it's a very prestigious department store. They've got amazing brands in there. They've damaged their brand at the cost of what? And from what I was reading, some retailers have pulled out of the department store off the back of this. They don't want any association.
Look, and I can't blame them. I can't blame them. I think particularly when the French pride themselves, on the quality, on being artisanal, on being sustainable, on anything but fast fashion. Yeah, this did not make any sense at all for a brand like BHV to be opening a Shein store, to be letting Shein, into the gate. But lo and behold, they did. And I think, like you said, I agree. I think this has done a lot of damage for the brand in terms of their positioning as being premium, because Shein is anything but premium. Yeah. Matter of fact, I think they won one of the awards last week, the Shonky Awards from Choice Magazine.
Yep, I saw that. And then, okay, going a bit higher, why France?
Well, I think they've been really trying to reposition their brand. Like here in Australia, they sponsor their young designers program. So they actually encourage young designers to work with Shein. So they're trying to position themselves as more fashion and less fast fashion. But if it looks like a pig, it sounds like a pig, it walks like a pig, it's probably a pig. And in this case, that's what they are. So I think why Paris? France is the country which is really leading the way in terms of addressing the fast fashion problem, with introducing a lot of new laws to reduce fast fashion, or at least levy pretty significant fines on fast fashion. So I guess they just wanted to attack it head on, to try to change that perception in the market. But I think they've misread the tea leaves. I think they've misread the fact that this is not a market which wants them.
Yeah. And that they've hurt really significantly as well. It's kind of like you're not welcome here.
What do you think would happen if they opened a Shein store in Australia? Do you think we'd see the same reaction?
I think we would see a reaction. I don't know if it would be as strong. I still think it would be strong, but potentially just less faces in the crowd, right? From what I understood, there was lots of news there as well. I don't know if Australia would be as quick on that front, but there would definitely be protests, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there would be as well. I would hope that they would be closer to the scale of that, because I think this is a problem which we're starting to recognize more. If you look at things like social justice, wealth inequality, there are things which people are being much more aware of, with everything. And when you look at these brands like Shein, who are exploiting your labor, paying labor like an absolute pittance, while making absolutely billions of dollars and putting untold amounts of pollution into the environment. We're becoming much more aware of that, as well. So I really hope, if it happened here, we would react appropriately to that. And it's funny as well that there's the other article which also went with this as well, where the reject shop are no longer considered a low cost option in Australia. Well, they haven't rebranded yet. They rebrand by the end of next year. They'll be rebranded, but their place has been taken by Temu and Shein and Amazon. So they are considered the new benchmark for low cost.
Wow.
Yeah. So reject shop, which, growing up was, that was the low cost place. If you walked into a reject shop, you didn't want your friends to see you walk in there. But now it's like, maybe they're kind of mid-price now because there's even cheaper options out there.
Yeah. And I imagine kind of Kmart and like the $2 shop and those traditional cheaper brands fall in that same place.
Well, funny enough, Kmart actually maintained their position. I don't think their position actually decreased, but Big W and Target both had a lower perception of being cheap. So again, being pushed down by, or pushed up, I should say, by Temu and Shein, which is not a good place to be.
Yeah, and it's tough for them with their value proposition as well, if we're acknowledging the fact that they've been pushed up.
Yeah. And I think when you look at any of those brands as well, you can find something in Temu, the equivalent, I'm using air quotes here, for $2.95, versus something you'd pay like $9.95 for, or even $30 for, in buying from a local retailer. And that's unsustainable. That's unsustainable for our business. It's unsustainable for our economy, if that happens. And it doesn't lead to good things.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll have to see what happens with Shein in Paris. It's going to get to the point where you don't want to be seen walking in the store. And to be honest, I feel a bit sad for the staff. I imagine they're getting some words at them. It's kind of the cost you pay.
Yeah, unfortunately so. All right, that is all we have time for this week. Alex, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Just good luck on Black Friday, peak periods, keep a level head, make sure your discounts are not misleading, but also clear to understand. And that's probably my 2 cents, Mal.
Make sure that you have all your logistics all ready to go and you can deal with this period. Every year, you always see the horror stories. Make sure that as the orders come in, you are dispatching them as quickly as possible. Don't let things pile up. So make sure you look at your workforce planning really, really closely through this time. And even if that workforce is just you working 24-hour days over the weekend.
It's good life advice generally. Don't let things.
All right, everyone. Keep innovating, keep growing, and keep selling. And we'll be back next week.
See you soon.